Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. This is the FX Wildcat Mark III. Overall length is 790mm or 31 inches. Overall weight is 395 grams, 5 pounds, 14 ounces. Trigger pull is 322 grams or 11.5 ounces. Length of pull is 348mm or 13.75 inches. So you've seen it in use, you've seen it in the field. What can I tell you about it? Well, the specifications are all available on FX's own website. Some of them are a little bit confusing because those specifications do predominantly focus on FAC specified versions, not the specific UK sub 12 foot-pound variant. It's available in 177, 22, 25 and 30 calibre, but I would suggest the first two, possibly the third 25 cal, are the most appropriate for the UK with sub 12 foot-pound rules and regulations. I personally like 22s. I would probably pick a 22. 25 is good, it's great for very short range ratting, but I think there's a little bit more versatility from 22. Okay, for longer range, the 177 is great, especially on quarry like pest birds, pigeons and things like that. But overall, everything's a compromise. I like the 22. So in terms of my review as what I have found using this rifle, okay, it is not, let's start with the it's not. It is not a target specific gun, although it is very precise and very accurate. The 480cc buddy bottle on this one has been giving me 130 to 150 shots, depending on which exact power setting I'm using. And you can see the 7 power levels available, changing between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 between each cocking operation, because don't change it when you've actually cocked the rifle. Shooting over the chronograph, the energy developed from a 15.89 grain JSB Hades pellet. Now, all the results you've seen on targets on paper have been shot at 25 metres. I did do it in the very stillest possible conditions I could get because it's absolutely blowing a gale around here at the moment. So I made sure I waited for a day and I virtually nearly did it in the dark to make sure I got the best weather conditions for it, because I don't have an indoor range or somewhere totally sheltered. So I'm entirely happy with the rifle. The trigger weight is very light. It's only just over 300 grams, two-stage, but very crisp, precise, and you can be very confident with it. It's very tactile and you don't sort of feel as if you go near it's going to go off. I'm very pleased with that. Length of pull on the rifle makes it a comfortable fit, and of course the short overall length does make it a very handy rifle. I mean, it's incredibly well balanced and it's incredibly pointable and easy to use when you're dropping into a position, you know, into a hide, or whether you're trying to sneak around, you know, it's not too long, it's not catching on branches, bushes, foliage, things like that. That comes at a slight contrast, and it's, as I say, it's not specifically a target rifle, because a target rifle you do generally want to be a little bit longer, a little bit more stable, possibly with a bipod or a flat underside, which is going to sit even more stably on rest bags front and rear. Filling the rifle's no problem at all. It's very easy to access this. I mean, something like the impact, where you've got to take it off the front of the trigger guard and it goes up there, it's a little bit slow, a little bit more fiddly. This one is super simple. The cocking lever is phenomenally fast. You can see in the video just how quickly you can operate it. I'm just going to safe dry fire this now. Now that is really good. One thing I would say is slightly counter to that is the safety catch at the back here. You do kind of need to think, I'll just flick the safety catch off before you shoulder the rifle, whereas on a lot of guns you can actually operate the safety catch when it is shouldered, but I don't think that's a hugely detrimental factor, and it's just something you get used to. You very quickly become used to just taking the stock and flicking it on off like that with your index finger. It's not a problem at all. Now the rifle is shootable left-handed if you need to, but it's not super comfortable, and I wouldn't recommend buying it if you were a left-handed shooter, because in a hunting situation where a left-handed shot does give you greater capability to use a convenient available rest or something like that, or a better firing angle, that's great. But I personally hunt completely ambidextrous for that reason, but not everybody does, and if you are right-handed it's never going to affect you. But if you are left-handed, once you've got the magazine, which is sitting somewhere here, where have I put the magazine down? If you are left-handed, once you've got the magazine in on the side of the rifle, it does, you know, kind of preclude you getting really good cheek weld on the gun. That's another interesting point to mention, because the Picatinny rail gives you a huge amount of scope mounting options, very easy to access, fit, refit, you know, change scopes without losing zero on night vision, daylight, whatever. One thing I will say though is, normally on a rifle, you're actually finding yourself in a position where you've got to kind of, your head's floating in mid-air and you've got to build up the cheek piece, and if it hasn't got an adjustable cheek piece. FX has completely flipped that round, because actually the scopes do mount quite accurately and low down. So actually I had to put some slightly taller mounts on this, taller than I needed, just to make sure I got the best head alignment. And of course that depends on whether you want to really cheek weld in hard at a slight angle, or whether you want to go in quite straight and vertical. I would go as far as to say that I think, as an all-rounder, this is perhaps my favourite FX. I did like the Crown II a lot. The Crown II was, of course, totally ambidextrous in terms of, from a hunting perspective, you could easily swap sides on it. It's an adjustable cheek piece. If you put it somewhere central, you then had complete ability either way, or if you were right-handed, push it to the right, if you were left-handed, push it to the left. The cocking lever was on the right-hand side, and the magazine, though, was up front here over the action, you know, under the scope. So you didn't have the problems of having a magazine at the back end there, which was going to be directly in the way of where your cheek needs to be. Where this scores over the Crown is the fact it's a bit shorter and it's also better balanced. You've got a 500mm barrel on this. It develops all the energy it needs to do with ease and really, really nice, smooth, quiet firing cycle. It's a very quiet gun, possibly the quietest FX I've used. Because it has a 1/2" UNF thread on the front, putting a Dunny FL moderator or other on does further decrease noise levels, and I would shoot it like that all the time, because that's just how I like it. One slight downside perhaps is there's no Picatinny mount here that you see on some FX you could put a forward-leaning bipod on. It's not a huge issue, but it would be kind of handy, and I'm sure you could probably fit one aftermarket, you know, put it in tripod sticks or something like that if you wanted to. You can also use a bottle clamp up front, which I used on the Crown, and it does work very well actually. Using the power control at the back is very easy. It clicks solidly between the 7 detents. It's got a nice knurled finish, and it doesn't obscure, you know, your face or your cheek or anything like that going into it. Just remember, don't change it when the rifle's cocked. Similarly, on the back, you've got a nice smooth fit into the recoil pad. You've got no awkward corners or edges. It doesn't snag on things, especially your clothing. Because the rifle is so short and light, it's actually so easy to handle, and with all these slots and cutouts in the stock, there's always like an extra bit you can grab hold of easily. Having the underside sort of V on the butt here means that if you are in a position where you can put your rear supporting hand in, that's fantastic. But the rifle shoots so well from a supported front hand, either just with your hand alone or on a bag or some other surface. The finish on the stock It sort of feels almost like a slightly soft touch, but it isn't a soft touch, it's just the way the plastic's been moulded. And I do think it's very nice actually. It's quiet to handle. If you bump it into things, it doesn't make a lot of resonant noise. And it's also, you know, very discreet, very dark coloured. It's not a showy rifle, it's a functional tool of a rifle. And it does seem to stand up and resist scratches from twigs, brambles and things like that quite easily. The modularity of the FX system means you can use different barrels with the smooth twist system in it. You can change calibers if you want to, obviously bearing in mind the power regulations which you'll need to just keep your eye on. As well as the 7 power settings, there is some adjustability in the setup of the rifle, but it's not the same as the full FAC version with the extra plenum chambers and things like that to compensate for the higher volumes of air used by FAC rifles with stronger power and shot counts. The rifle is dual regulated and primary fill pressure is 230 bar, which is displayed on the gauge here. The second dial here displays the secondary regulator's pressure. This means you get a very flat power curve all through the 130 to 150 shot cycle which I was getting from the rifle. I've found the slightly smaller 18 round magazines like found on this Wildcat and the Crown II to be slightly more reliable than the high capacity magazines on things like the Impact. To load the magazine, turn the lever around to unlock the clear cover, take the clear cover off, rotate the follower all the way to its extreme position, drop one pellet in and then just release the pressure. Fill all the rest up, click the lid back on, turn the locking gauge. One thing I would definitely recommend is to make sure this first pellet is not protruding from this slot, because when you put it into the rifle it will shave off if you don't. The magazine follower has been reliable and it's got strong, smooth spring pressure to make sure each pellet gets fed evenly. You can see on the video that the rifle is so super light. This is a safe dry fire by the way. It's just so quick, and with the lever there just above your fingers you can grab hold of it so quickly and it's always there just at your fingertips. Cock it, fire it, cock it, fire it. The vertical design and layout of a rifle like this does make them a little bit more top heavy and slightly less intrinsically stable than a more traditional long flat bottomed rifle with a slim tube on it supplying the air. But what you do get with this rifle in a bullpup configuration is superb smooth controls and also that wonderful lightweight close range handling for pest control. Well, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment and click the notification bell. If you go all the way through to the end of the video, there's a link to the British Shooting Show tickets for 2023, and this year tickets also include car parking. If you come along to the show, I'm probably going to be on the Sportsman Gun Centre stand at some point, who thankfully sent me the rifle and also the Element Optics scope. And if you do bump into me, please say hi, say you like my channel. It's always good feedback for me to hear that from people who view it. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.